Alrighty, so we now know the matchup for MLS Cup 2022, and we now know that not only we're going to get a new champion this season, but we also will get a first-time winner this year, as two of the teams that is going to be playing MLS Cup this season are making their MLS Cup debut and playing in the big game for the first time in their team history. And that matchup is the Philadelphia Union versus LAFC. After the Union was able to move on to MLS Cup and representing the Eastern Conference by winning 3-1 against the defending champion, well, no longer the defending champion, NYCFC. And this was kind of a game where, I thought that it was kind of one of those games I predicted where, it was going to be scrappy and that, there was definitely some feistiness between both of these teams. But maybe one goal was going to be enough for both of these teams to win. And NYCFC, of course, getting that crucial goal. And it looked like they were going to potentially make it back to MLS Cup, and then they decided to fall into their own narrative of, how the old narrative of NYCFC always find a way to lose a playoff game, and that sometimes they have some self-destruction moment to cause that. Yeah, they basically self-destruct in the final 25 minutes into this game, because not only the fact that they gave up 2 goals in quick succession, but we saw the usual Union blitz, and how we talk about this season. The Union, if they can score a goal, and they can score one very quickly, oh boy, you are in big trouble. But in the first half, again, coming into this matchup, I think I didn't mention the fact in the preview, this felt like it was a reverse kind of trend of what we saw last year. So last year, it was a matchup. The big storylines was that Union was pretty much playing a C team against NYCFC after a bunch of their players had to be on COVID protocol. Well, this year, it was kind of the opposite. And while there wasn't as much NYCFC player missing in this game, and this is because of injury, there was at least 3 key pieces, and there was even some questionable pieces that was going to be in. I mean, there was even a big question that Maxi Morales was potentially going to play this game, and he actually went the full 90 minutes in this one. And even on the Union side, I would say that there was a big question of their captain, Alejandro Badoy, whether if he's going to go, and he actually limped all the way to for 45 minutes into this one. But obviously, the in terms of how it kind of is a reverse trend is the fact that at least this time it's the Union term that gets the healthy team, and it's NYCFC one that is coming into this game a little bit short-handed. But that being said, in the 6th minute, we did have the first shot of the game. Well, actually, it wouldn't end up being the first shot of the game, because after Johnson denying Wagner from long range, the flag, of course, went up for offside. So again, anytime when there's a shot that comes and the offside flag basically happened, it basically neglect that shot. But still, it was the first big action that we had in this game. As you expect in the early part of this game, it was kind of a little bit cagey because of the fact that it's an Eastern Conference final. But I also thought that the Union was on the front foot, and they actually had most of the possession. I thought NYCFC was going to try to do the same thing they did against Montreal, where maybe they just kind of sit back a little bit and maybe catch the Union kind of by surprise and maybe score against the run of play. Though Wagner did have another chance in the 14th minute as he struck one right to Johnson from long range. And then it looked like the Union got the opening goal in the 15th minute when Gastek puts it into the back of net. The entire stadium was erupting. But the problem was Gastek was in an offside position. And he was in an offside position when he was lining up for this corner. And in the end, it was the right call. I mean, it wasn't by much, but yeah. That was definitely not a good moment for Daniel Gastek, where it's, you don't want to be lined up offside when you're about to take a corner, and that, of course, is exactly the case there. But there was no doubt that I thought the Union had most of the possession, but again, they really can't quite break down a resilient NYCFC backline, and eventually I thought NYCFC kind of started to get themselves back into the game and started to kind of play the way that they like to play, which is trying to dictate the game and have most of the possession. Pereira had the first opportunity for the visitor, but he hits it right to Blake before Carranza curls one into the stands. And as I said, NYCFC, they started to dominate the possession and dictate the game, and they did it so much that the possession was now in favor of them. It was 61-39 in favor of NYCFC, though both teams had 3 shots in this game. Carranza then hits one right to Johnson in the 45th minute, but we do head to halftime with this one scoreless between the Union and NYCFC. Now, in the second half, Johnson did deny Carranza from a tight angle in this one. They mentioned many times about how, Carranza, he's been kind of struggling in in the past couple of games, not scoring since August, and knowing the fact that he's been just a lethal goal scorer for the Union this season, especially during that spell where they were just a free scoring team. It has to be very frustrating if you're Julian Carranza, the fact that you haven't been able to contribute in terms of the goal scoring department. But as I'll talk about a little bit later, that of course would all change. But I also saw that the Union fans were basically telling the referee that he really sucks because, again, like I said, this is Philadelphia. The fans are not going to be happy with the referee. Although I thought this time, they weren't as riled up of the referee compared to when they play against Cincinnati. Although I guess maybe it's because they're probably getting distracted by the fact that the Eagles, of course, got the win earlier today, and the Phillies, of course, are in the World Series. Maybe they're a little bit more calmer in that. Actually, what am I kidding? This is Philadelphia sports fan. They're never very calm. They're always very rowdy about their team, no matter if it's from the MLS or in the NFL. But yeah, that was a classic moment where the Union fan base basically told that the referee, he really sucked. But that being said, in the 57th minute, oh, by the way, the reason why they tell me he really sucked was that it was supposed to be a corner, but then it turns out to be a throw-in. But then in the 57th minute, this is where the breakthrough happened, and this is where I thought that this goal might be enough for NYCFC to go back to MLS Cup, as Maxi Morales would score from Rodriguez and Tinnerholm to make it 1-0 in favor of the visitor, and this was just champagne soccer for NYCFC. Like, this one literally start from the goal kick, and just a lovely build-up to cut open that Union defense. And mind you, this is one of the best defense in the league, but the fact that NYCFC just cut open that Union defense into pieces like that is very uncharacteristic. But at the same time, this game need one big moment, and that is exactly the moment that NYCFC had, and they even showed the fans were going absolutely nuts. Well, the away fans, that is. But after that goal was scored, you can see it was very quiet inside Subaru Park. I mean, it was so quiet enough where you were hearing the NYCFC supporter definitely doing their chant, and they were thinking that maybe that was going to be enough for them to get themselves back to MLS Cup. There was then some pushing and shoving between both teams. Again, it's been a very physical game. It's always been, because these two teams, I really think there's started to become a bit of a rivalry between two of these teams. I mean, not just because of proximity, because both of these cities are only separated by 90 miles, but also the fact that there's been some very intense game between both of these teams. So tempers were definitely kind of heating up throughout this game. Though that being said, in the 60th minute, Blake would absolutely rob Alexander Callens from point blank range, and this would actually turns out to be a huge moment in this game, because as what we're about to see, if Blake did not rob Callens there on a point blank header, this game could have been a lot different, because just 5 minutes later, Carranza would score from Glasnes to tie the game up at 1 apiece, and this was a very bad goal to concede for NYCFC. Like, they completely switched off on the set piece. And also, the old saying about the fact that you definitely don't want to make substitution when you're defending a set pieces, because of the fact that you basically throw off the rhythm of the team and you're trying to kind of set things up. Well, apparently Nick Cushing didn't get that memo, because he decided to bring Keaton Parks into the game as they were defending a set pieces. And that, again, you can see that NYCFC defense, they were completely confused. Like, they didn't know what they were going to do in terms of defending that set piece. And credit to the Union, they recognized that. Glasnes took it quickly. He basically played that one right down Broadway while NYCFC was still figuring out who they were marking. And next thing you know, Carranza buries that one, and that of course ties the game up at 1 apiece. Not long after, Gastag would get on the score sheet from Carranza and McGlynn to make it 2-1 in favor of the Union. So in a blink of an eye, this game went from 1-0 in favor of NYCFC. It looks like they were going to shut things down, to just completely took a big flip to make it 2-1 in favor of the Union. And by the way, this game actually started relatively late. It started like around 8:30. So I guess maybe you could say that's a very classic MLS After Dark kind of moment. Again, coming into this game, I was really hoping we need to at least have some big moments and some kind of wildest moment that only MLS basically produced. Because let's be honest, this season playoffs, it's been kind of a little bit underwhelming. I mean, compared to previous playoffs where we have some instant classic kind of moment that happened in the postseason, this season it just haven't really kind of delivered. I mean, maybe besides El Tráfico, I don't really recall there's been games where there's been some crazy moments that you just say, oh, that is definitely going to be one of the instant classic and something we'll remember down the line. But hey, at least this game kind of tried, and with the way that, again, just 2 goals in a span of 2 minutes and 1 second, as John Strong later mentioned, yeah, that completely switched this game on its head. And the same goes with the crowd. I mean, the crowd again was very quiet after NYCFC got the opening goal, and that crowd absolutely exploded after they scored within 2 minutes of play. I mean, they were already going bananas after they got the equalizer. They were definitely going even more bananas after that second goal, of course, went in. And again, while the home fans were in jubilation, NYCFC themselves just completely implode defensively. Like, both of those goals were just some of the most shocking defending I've seen from NYCFC. And yeah, in a blink of an eye, it was 2-1 in favor of the Union. Elliott then puts it wide from long range before Burke had a shot that was deflected, and it goes wide. And again, momentum was all with the Union right now. And NYCFC, they still don't know what hit them. And in fact, in the 76th minute, this looks like it was the dagger, because Corey Burke would score here to make it 3-1 in favor of the Union, because of course Corey Burke would score. Like, we've seen this story so many times in the regular season, where once the Union, of course, can get going and score on quick succession, you are in big trouble. And we seen it in this game too, where, as soon as there's 2 goals, I just had a feeling the Union was going to maybe score a third or even a fourth one. And how many times we've always seen Burke just somehow ends up to be that guy that scored like the third or the fourth goal. And here he scored here to make it 3-1 in favor of the Union. The Union blitz, as I mentioned, was well and truly alive, which I didn't think it was going to happen, because I know in the regular season it's a little bit different than in the playoffs. It gets a little bit tight, but that doesn't seem like it's the case. They were running riot against that NYCFC team that not only they look down and out, but they still look like completely rattled. Like, they still have not recovered the fact that, wait, we went from just 1-0 up to just down 2-1 in the span of just 2 minutes. But that being said, they did kind of recover themselves a little bit, and they were trying to push to get one back as the time winds down. Rodriguez had a shot that was deflected, and it goes high before Johnson. I thought he got away with one. And him and Stuver today, man, they both really got away with some very terrible goalkeeping mistake, where here he's just kind of trying to casually dribble it out of the back. And when you're a goalkeeper, you got to be a little bit careful when you try to dribble it out at the back, because if you took a poor touch, then you're basically inviting the attacking team or the attacker to kind of take that one away and basically pickpocket you. And Sean Johnson, very lucky that he did not do that. And also another moment that is an explanation of why he probably won't be the starting goalkeeper for the U.S. men's national team in Qatar, because those are kind of the moment will basically drive not only NYCFC fans crazy, but U.S. men's national team fans crazy, because this is supposed to be one of the guys that maybe will make it on the plane to Qatar, and most likely he will, but he definitely won't be the guy that I think many U.S. men's national team fans will feel like he's going to be the starting goalkeeper for this national team in the World Cup in just a bit. And then in the second minute of stoppage time, Tinnerholm would blast one into the supporter section out of frustration. And yeah, there you have it. The Union was able to move on to MLS Cup for the first time in their franchise history with a 3-1 win. And the shots in this one, 12 shots compared to 10 that the Union has, 6 shots on goal compared to 4 that NYCFC had. Both teams had 2 shots off target, 6 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that the Union has, and possession-wise, 65% possession compared to 35% possession that the Union has in this game. And like I said, we finally will have found out the matchup for MLS Cup, and I believe this is also the first time since 2003 we actually have a matchup between two teams that are number 1 seed. Again, it just doesn't happen often where you see 2 number 1 seed makes it into MLS Cup, even though you think that maybe could happen because, they're a number 1 seed for a reason. There's that thing called upsets, and that, again, this is why this playoffs, I feel like it's a little bit underwhelming, and that this was definitely, in terms of entertainment factor and wildness, definitely one of the least kind of entertaining and wildness factor that we've seen in this playoffs, where, again, it just feel like maybe there was times where it was a little bit too predictable of who, of course, eventually is moving on to the next round. There wasn't really kind of big upsets like we've seen in past MLS playoffs. But that being said, these top seed teams, they don't care. All they want is to try to win MLS Cup, or it's going to be considered a failure. And that, again, for the Union, they're kind of in the same shoes as LAFC, where, they want MLS Cup. They know know that, you know, they've been working for this moment for the past couple of seasons, and while there's been times where they have failed to do so, they feel like this is, of course, the time to do so. Whereas for LAFC, I've already mentioned how many times that it is definitely MLS Cup and bust with the talent that they had. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this matchup is going to be, and I'll definitely talk about that matchup as we get closer to MLS Cup. But for NYCFC, again, you know, they had this one, but again, they just kind of imploded in the last 25 minutes of this game. And, you know, when you have these kind of moments, in the playoffs, yeah, you're most likely going to end up on the losing side. But at the end of the day, I think for NYCFC, you know, I don't think it's going to be a year where they're going to say it's a failure kind of year. I mean, anytime when you're the defending champion, you never would say that it's kind of a failure of a year, because, you know, you did you at least one MLS Cup last year, and not to mention NYCFC also won a trophy in the Confidence Cup earlier, or just last month. So again, I think for this team, they'll definitely bounce back. But this is, of course, just another lesson and just kind of another example that if you want to maybe even still feel like the narrative is still alive of this NYCFC team cracking under pressure, and that they implode in playoffs and find new ways to lose games, then maybe you can use this as an example of them just kind of completely imploded after they gave up a goal to the Union. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of this game. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.